The school hallway was filled with laughter, the cruel kind that makes your chest tighten. A group of teenage boys, football stars of the school, cornered the new math teacher, Miss Alina Carter. She was young, gentle, dressed modestly, and carried herself with the quiet grace of someone who believed kindness could fix anything. But kindness wasn't what the bullies respected. With one rough shove, her books went scattering across the floor, and her back slammed against the lockers. The clang echoed down the hall. Students froze, whispering, waiting to see if she would cry, beg, or run. But Alina took a slow breath, lifted her eyes, and in that moment, something unshakable awakened inside her. What they didn't know was that behind her quiet smile was a black belt in Judo, and when the next shove came, the school would never forget what happened. Alina Carter had dreamed of teaching since she was a little girl. Numbers made sense to her in a world that often didn't. She had grown up in a small town, where her mother raised her alone after her father left. Life was not easy, but Alina carried her struggles like a hidden shield. She wasn't flashy, she wasn't loud. She believed in soft strength, the kind that lifted people instead of pushing them down. When she finally earned her teaching degree and landed her first real job at Westwood High, she promised herself she'd give her students more than lessons. She would give them hope. But Westwood wasn't like the schools in her textbooks. The hallways were filled with cliques, kids with more money than manners, and athletes who thought rules didn't apply to them. The teachers whispered about the football team, their arrogance, their bullying, the way they controlled the school's culture. Alina noticed it immediately. She saw the quiet kids avoiding eye contact, the timid ones eating alone, and the way no one dared to challenge the so-called kings of the hall. Still, she believed she could change things. She began her lessons with passion, explaining complex math through stories and real-life examples. Some students lit up, amazed that equations could mean something in their world. Others rolled their eyes, uninterested. And then there were the football players, Jake, Tyler, and Mason, the ringleaders. They mocked her in class, whispered loud enough for everyone to hear, and threw smirks around like weapons. Alina ignored it at first, reminding herself that respect was earned slowly. But then came the day in the hallway. She was leaving her classroom when Jake, tall and broad-shouldered, stepped into her path. "Hey, Miss Numbers," he sneered, his friends laughing behind him. "You think you're going to teach us? We run this place." He shoved her shoulder lightly at first, testing. Alina didn't react. She simply bent down to pick up her papers. Tyler kicked one of the books further down the hall. Mason leaned in, whispering, "You don't belong here." Then came the hard shove, her back slamming into the lockers. For a second, she felt the sting, not just physical, but emotional. Memories of childhood bullies flashed through her. The times she'd been called weak, nerdy, unwanted. Her mother's tired face, urging her to stay strong, echoed in her mind. But Alina wasn't the same little girl anymore. The hallway grew quiet. Everyone was waiting for her to break. But instead, she straightened up slowly, her eyes steady. She didn't raise her voice, didn't threaten. She simply looked at Jake and said, "Are you finished?" Jake laughed. "Oh, she's got some fire. What are you going to do? Call the principal?" He moved closer, ready for another shove. But Alina's hand moved quicker than his eyes could follow. In one seamless motion, she grabbed his wrist, turned her body, and with a flick of practiced precision, Jake went flying over her shoulder, landing on the floor with a thud that silenced the entire hallway. The other boys froze. Tyler blinked, stepping back, but Mason lunged forward, thinking she had gotten lucky. Another swift move, this time a clean hip throw, and Mason landed beside Jake, groaning. Alina stood there, calm, breathing steady, her hair slightly falling into her face. She didn't look angry, she didn't even look triumphant. She looked like someone who had been forced to stop hiding. The hallway erupted, not with laughter, but with awe. For the first time, the bullies weren't in control, and Miss Carter, the quiet math teacher, was no longer just another target. She was a force. News spread like wildfire. By the next morning, everyone in Westwood High knew about the math teacher who sent the football stars flying. Some students whispered with admiration, others with disbelief. But one thing was certain, the balance of power had shifted. In class, the atmosphere was different. Jake and his friends slouched in the back, silent for once, their swagger replaced with unease. The quiet students, the ones who had always been invisible, sat up straighter. They looked at Alina with a new kind of respect, not because she was strong, but because she had shown them that strength didn't have to be loud or cruel. But Alina knew the fight wasn't over. Principal Harris called her in, his expression tight. "Miss Carter," he began, "I've heard, concerning reports, about you physically confronting students." Alina met his eyes. "With respect, sir, I didn't confront anyone. I defended myself." The principal sighed. He was under pressure. The football team brought money, sponsors, and pride to the school. But before he could continue, a knock came at the door. It was Sarah, a shy girl from Alina's class, clutching her books. "Principal Harris," she said softly, "I saw everything. They attacked her. She didn't start it. She just didn't let them win." Behind Sarah stood more students, one by one, gathering courage to speak. Dozens of them filled the hallway, voices rising, backing Alina. The principal leaned back, stunned. For years, no one had dared to stand against the team. Now, because of one teacher, the tide was turning. Later that week, Alina walked through the hallways, and something remarkable happened. The bullies stepped aside. The quiet kids